Our second youth Zingo bowling match. Dionte Beauford we have Dionte Beauford and Brandon Moon. There's our first look at Dionte. And he leaves himself a 6-pin. Both bowlers get 4 strikes in Zingo. Zingo, latest craze in bowling. It's a challenge and it's fun. It's a handicap tournament without a handicap. Instead of handicap, the bowlers get so many strikes based on their bowling average. They place the strikes in the game during the game, and they decide where to place them after the first ball of every frame. They can either shoot the spare or decide to put in a Zingo. So it's a little bit of, you got to think a little bit in this game. Do you want to use your strikes early? Do you want to save some till near the end? Do you want to shoot that hard spare? Makes for an interesting, fun match. And I think, yeah, there's our first Zingo. Brandon decides, doesn't want to shoot the 4, 6, 7, 10, and I can certainly understand that. Brandon Moon, who just won our last Zingo with a 268 game. He's 14 years old, been bowling for 5 years. And his greatest influence is his coach, who's helped improve his bowling and continues to stand behind and follow his bowling career. And Brandon makes the spare. And Dionte Beauford comes up. We'll get a second look at him. Dionte is 16. His dad is Jerome. He's got 4 brothers and sisters. His father's what got him interested in bowling, and he loves to watch him bowl. Dionte has placed second in the state doubles. He's also placed first in the junior singles classic. He's been bowling about 4 years. 3 years in league competition. He bowls in the TNBA juniors right here at First State Lanes. Biggest influence is his father. Takes him to bowling every Saturday morning and coaches him. And he makes a spare. Likes bowling in tournaments because he likes the competition. Said this is our second youth Zingo bowling match. And he gets a strike on his own. And that gives him 38 through 2. And Brandon Moon in the third. Just coming off a 268 in his previous game. Ball's not reacting quite the way it was in the first match. And he leaves himself a 7-pin. There's Dionte. And Brandon makes the spare. And we have a 1-pin game at this point. But Brandon has already used one of his Zingos, and Dionte is still sitting on his 4. And runs into a problem, uses the Zingo, decides he doesn't want to shoot that nasty looking spare. And Dionte coming up in the fourth frame. And he leaves himself a 6-pin.
Sunday double, call winner practice.
And Dionte shooting the 6-pin. And he's not going to make that. That hurt. That's the fourth frame. That means it's time for a break. We'll be back with more right after these words. Brandon Moon coming up in the fifth. Starting to hook a little bit more than it did the previous game for him. He hasn't adjusted to that yet. And he leaves himself a 6-pin. And he makes the spare.
Bowlers, whoever's driving a black Pontiac number, your license on.
Brandon Moon, lane 1, 6th frame. And he gets a little mix, gets a strike. 99 through 5 for Brandon. He has 2 Zingos left. Dionte has 66 in the fourth, working on a strike. And he kind of pulled that one. Three, 5, 6. And apparently he's elected to shoot the spare instead of going for a Zingo. And he made the spare. So after 5 frames, it's 99 for Brandon, 86 for Dionte. Dionte on a spare, Brandon on a strike. 13 pins. And a strike for Dionte. And Brandon comes up in the 7th, working on a strike. And he's got an 8. He made the spare. So it's still a reasonably close game. 106 to 119 through 6. Brandon working on his spare. Dionte has a strike. This game is basically within pins right at this point. Brandon has 2 Zingos left. Dionte has 3. And a Zingo is called. That leaves Brandon down to 1. Dionte coming up on lane 2, working on a strike. And he again goes way to the Brooklyn. And Dionte elects to shoot the spare, which may have been a mistake. He made the spare. So it's still 13 pins, but now Dionte's on the spare and Brandon's on the strike. Dionte still has 3 Zingos left. He's running out of room. Brandon has 1 left. And a 6-10. And he calls the Zingo in the 9th. This is a good match, but we'll be back right after this with the completion. Utilized all his Zingos, has none left. He needs a strike here would definitely help. Yeah, well, he got it. And that gives him 3 in a row. And a 2-7 split. And he's got a healthy game. 2:15 right now. And he made a spare, gives him a 2:17 for Brandon Moon. And Dionte Beauford will finish out the match. Brandon Moon is our 2-time Zingo TV champion. And Dionte's still having trouble pulling the ball. And he has 1 Zingo left. There's an interesting type of bowling. A little bit of a mental challenge there as to where you want to place your strikes. And again, he comes up high, right on the nose, uses his last Zingo, and he will finish up with a 200 of some sort.